camera breaches the walls of Castro's island fortress. For the first time since the Cuban crisis arose, come pictures from inside Havana. Russian equipment right at dockside indicates something of the extent of Soviet infiltration. In a hurried tour of the city, the News of the Day cameraman sees everywhere the posters adulating the bearded dictator. The familiar communist brainwashing technique is displayed in propaganda books constantly spewed out as required reading. The cameraman was allowed to shoot only certain areas, but idle factories and nearly deserted streets betray economic disaster that cannot be covered up. The government was happy to let the News of the Day man go into the schools, yet what did he find being taught there? Russian, of course, and not only Russian language, Russian ideas. The shopping district of what was once one of the most cosmopolitan cities of the Western Hemisphere is notable for the armed guards, male and female, patrolling the sparsely stocked shops. What is significant is what the camera is not allowed to see: the Russian soldiers and equipment, whose accelerated buildup has become a matter of acute concern to the United States Congress and to Secretary of State Dean Rusk. One site of bustling activity is the harbor, where the Shirley Likes is unloading more than 7,000 tons of food and medical supplies. Another installment of the $53 million ransom extorted by Prime Minister Castro for the prisoners taken in the abortive Bay of Pigs invasion. Our cameraman arrived on the Mercy ship, and he will return with 1,170 relatives of those prisoners who are allowed to seek a free way of life in America. That little exit permit is about the most precious thing to be had in Cuba. Certainly it is the most precious thing these people have. To obtain it, they had to forfeit to Castro everything they possessed, except for what they were wearing, plus 3 changes of clothing. There are 14 stretcher cases carried aboard and 7 paralytic cases. Ironically, the ship carried, which Castro said he doesn't need. Red Cross cots and blankets provide overnight bedding in the holds of the 490-foot freighter. The refugees are in for a rough crossing, which is not made easier by excitement and improper pre-sailing food. Port Everglades, Florida is set to welcome the freedom seekers, as it has those who have preceded them since Castro released the first group of prisoners, followed by their families in December. This boatload brings the total to 3,508. As one Cuban said, this is like emerging from a dungeon into fresh air. There is hunger in Cuba and no freedom. We are going to start life anew in the United States, which is what people have been doing for the past 350 years.